Hey math fans, welcome to Chapter 10, Section 1, Circles and Circumference. In this video, I have everything filled out ahead of time to keep things short and sweet, but I will explain everything in great detail. So, for starters, let's talk about what it means to be a circle. A circle is the set of all points in a plane equidistant from a given point called the center of the circle. And so you name a circle by its center point. So this circle is going to be called circle C. So you might see it spelled out circle C, or you'll see this little symbol, a circle with the center point in there, and then the letter C by it. Some pieces of a circle would be a radius, a chord, and a diameter. A radius has an endpoint on the circle, and then it goes to that center point, halfway across the circle, right? A diameter goes all the way across the circle, passing through that center point. And then a chord is just a segment that goes through a circle, has endpoints on the sides, quote unquote, of a circle. It's touching the circle, okay? But a circle doesn't have any sides. And so a diameter is a chord, but not all chords are diameters, because a diameter has endpoints on the circle, but line AB here is not a diameter because it doesn't go through the center. So a diameter is a chord. All diameters are chords, but not all chords are diameters. So I hope that makes sense, because chords don't have to go through the middle, but diameters do. So in this example here, I'm going to name this circle. I'm going to call it circle E. I'll identify my radii, which is plural for radius. So my radii would be HE, GE or EG, order doesn't really matter. So FE would also be a radius. Diameter would be HG, and then a chord would be JK, and also HG. So we have two chords on here, we have 3 radii and 1 diameter. So this is something that you've probably learned in elementary or middle school, and that's the radius is half the length of the diameter. So if you know the diameter, cut it in half. If you know the radius, double it to find the diameter. So yeah. In this example here, I have QV, so that's a radius. That's 8 inches. So what's the diameter of circle V? I just double it. 8 times 2 is 16. Don't forget to write your units, children. Okay, and RT is a diameter here, so that's given to me as 21 centimeters. So if I want to know what QV is, which is a radius because it has an endpoint on the circle and then it's touching the middle point, I'll just cut 21 in half. So 21 divided by 2 is 10.5. So 10.5 centimeters is what QV is. Next, let's talk about the circumference of a circle. The circumference is the length of a circle. You could think of it as the perimeter of the circle, but perimeter means the sum of all the sides, and a circle has no sides. So that's why it's called the circumference and not the perimeter. But yeah, if you take a string and you measure all the way around a circle, and then you straighten that string out, the length of that string would be the circumference of that circle, okay? And so the formula would be pi times diameter, or 2 pi r, since you have to multiply the radius times 2 to equal the diameter. So in this example, I have 7 for my radius. So I'm going to do 2 times pi times 7, and that'll get me approximately 43.982 yards. In this example, I'm given a diameter of 16.8 meters, so I can do 16.8 pi, or you could do 2 times pi times cut 16.8 in half and get 8.4. And either way, you're going to get the exact same number, and that's about 52.779 meters. So in this next batch of examples, we're going to work backwards from the circumference to figure out the radius and the diameter. So if circumference is 2 times pi times r, and you need to find the radius when given the circumference, then since you're just multiplying these 3 terms together, you can just divide out these 2 terms that 2 pi, to the other side. So take any given circumference, divide it by 2 pi, and you'll figure out the radius. Similarly, if you're looking for the diameter, you can take the circumference and divide it by pi, because you don't need to divide it by that 2, because you don't need to cut it in half, and that'll give you the diameter. Okay, for my first example, I'm given a circumference of 56.52 feet. So like I said before, all you're going to do is divide it by 2 pi to find the radius, and just type that into your calculator. I get about 8.995 feet. If I want to know the diameter, I could just double this amount, but what I did was I just took out the 2 and I did 56.52 divided by pi, and I got 17.991 feet. As a teacher, I do prefer kids type something in like this rather than times this value by 2, just because this is rounded, and so this is not rounded when you're typing that into the calculator. So that's why I prefer typing this in. So for a similar example, I have a circumference of 76.93 centimeters. I'll divide it by 2 pi to find my radius, which is about 12.244 centimeters. And then if I just do 76.93 divided by pi, I'll get my diameter, which is about 24.488 centimeters. And lastly, I got a couple more definitions to go over. A polygon is inscribed in a circle if all of its vertices lie on the circle. A circle is circumscribed about a polygon if it contains all the vertices of the polygon. So in this image here, quadrilateral LMNP is inscribed, I just think inside inscribed, of circle K. And circle K is circumscribed about quadrilateral LMNP. So here I have a couple of polygons, circumscribed and inscribed. This is inscribed, this rectangle, and this circle is inscribed inside the square there. And so this one's the easiest one to go over. I'm looking for the radius. And so if you know the length of a square is 11, just cut that in half, because the diameter of the circle, since it's touching all 4 sides of the square, 11 would also be the diameter. So cut that in half, you get the radius of 5.5 yards. And for this one right here, because I had a rectangle, the diagonal makes a right triangle, right? And so I have 15 for one side of the right triangle, 8 for here, and then this diagonal going all the way across would be the diameter of my circle. So if I cut that in half, going from here to here, that'd be my radius. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the Pythagorean Theorem, and that'll find my diameter, and then I'll just cut that in half to find my radius. So the hypotenuse is always opposite of the right angle, so opposite of the right angle is your diameter. So I'm going to do 8 squared plus 15 squared equals my hypotenuse of x squared. And so 8 squared plus 15 squared is 289. Square root both sides to figure out what x is, and you'll get 17. So 17 is my diameter. So I'm just going to cut that in half, and I'll get my radius of 8.5 feet. And that's going to wrap it up for my examples. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something, and goodbye.